Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pleasurable Success. We have a super fun guest speaker today with us. I'm so excited for you to get to know her. She is all about the feminine, and you know that we are all about that here at Pleasurable Success. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Kristen, also known as the Feminine Essential. The Essential Feminine, Feminine Essential.
The Essential Feminine. Yeah.
The Essential Feminine. There we go. Why did I mix those two up?
That's all right. Because feminine, we're so excited about feminine. It's like, come on, let's go with
it. I love it. Well, hello. Welcome to Pleasurable Success.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. We had an awesome conversation on TikTok Live. And one of my favorite comments I got afterwards was, why don't you guys just like schedule conversations like that? Like I got so much. It was just so juicy and awesome. And I was like, okay, cool.
Up. I love that. Okay, well,
that was from Riley.
Oh, that makes sense. I was like, some random persons. Oh, I love it. But Riley, of course. I love it. Okay, so tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got into doing this work around the feminine.
I describe myself as a content creator, an educator, a designer, and a coach, and everything melts down to energetic balance. I went to school thinking I love the brain, I love humans, I want to help, I want to create environments of healing. And so psychology, as many of us healers, people that are drawn to healing, are like, cool, let me understand this thing. But something was missing. And when I graduated, I was like, I don't really want to counsel or be a therapist, but like something is there. Do I want to write? Do I really like humans and I want to observe them? And then 2020 happened. I downloaded TikTok as a joke because I was like, well, I'm in my childhood bedroom. I'm a little bored. And I started seeing all of this spiritual content. And I was like, wait, this feels like the missing piece, like that link between understanding mental health and what was missing. And what I was like, oh, I feel like there's a gap somewhere. Feminine energetics and understanding through metaphor and through visual and through that language, I went, oh my God, it all clicked. So I help people come back home to themselves, kind of breaking down the walls of societal expectations, what we were raised to believe, to think, to feel, to want, to desire, and how do I come back home to myself and what I actually want, what I actually think, what I actually feel, what I actually desire, so that my life is rooted in pleasure.
That was so beautiful. You can see the smile on my face. I'm like, this is what we're here for.
Yes, I love it. I love it so much.
So cool. Okay, something that you mentioned that I would love to dive a little bit deeper on was that you felt this sense of like it clicked for you of like the gap between mental health and the life that you wanted to be living and the experience and the healing that you wanted to do for this world. So what was that thing? Obviously feminine energetics, but like, can you dive a little deeper into what bridged that gap for you?
A lot of the models, the training, the systems, the educational background of reading and being in research was very work, very math, very logic oriented. And I love it. And we need that literally to understand, communicate, talk about, scientifically analyze anything in the world, right? But I felt like the research didn't feel full of life. It felt numeric. And so I was like, well, how do we bring more life? Because we're working with humans. Like this isn't, we're just working with math. We're working with emotions and feelings and trauma and connection. So when I learned about feminine energy and the roots of community and sensuality, not even always related to sexuality, but like, how do I feel alive? I was like, oh my God. Okay. If we can bring this to the numbers, to the math, to the science, that's where wholeness is found.
Oh, I have chills all over my body. It's so incredibly powerful to infuse the magic into the 3D, you know, like I always say the feminine is the magic, the quantum, the illogical, like it doesn't make sense. The masculine is the logic and it's the 3D, and the wholeness, the union of the two makes it incredible because you can actually experience the magic in the human experience. And I think that's fucking awesome. Yeah.
I love it. I recently went to a retreat and the speaker, I went in in my last relationship, one of the main sticking points where we just fundamentally disagreed was you expect a lot of magic. And I was like, I don't think I'm talking about like pulling random fairies out of the air. I think I'm talking about infusing magic and logic into everyday interactions. And so I went in like with this in the back of my head, and the speaker spent an entire day, 2 sessions, 6 hours worth of content talking about magic is not something that we settle for. That's passive. That's like, oh, I guess I'm in this job. I guess I'm in this relationship. I guess I'm here. This might logically make sense. Magic is settling on, saying, I choose this foundation where I want to build roots, where I want to create something meaningful. And that's where magic comes from. It's an intentional creation. And I was like, can you say it again? Can you say, like, I want to tattoo that on my forehead? Like, I love it. Yes. And that's the magic. That's the bridge between, I think you might expect too much. Or even when people go, well, that doesn't logically make sense. It's like, I feel it. I know it in my body. I know it in my soul. I know it in my physical being.
Yeah.
Let me bridge that gap and show you.
Yes.
Here you go.
Yeah, that's the power of embodiment and allowing yourself to feel every emotion. And something that I think you and I, with the whole magic piece of life and bringing that into our everyday, it's like not even creating, it's just choosing your life to be a masterpiece, choosing your life to be an art, and everything gets to be this beautiful ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important for me as well, because I've been the mundane. I've been the wake up, go to work 8 hours, come back, shower, dinner, sleep, and it really just sucked the life out of me. I wanted the zings, I wanted the downloads, I wanted the aha moments, I wanted the goosebumps all over my body. And yeah, it's truly, I mean, it is magical. It's such a delicious way to live life. So I'm curious, what are some ways that you bring the magic into your life and really make your everyday a ceremony?
Oh, such a good question. Such a good question that's so full of like any direction you want to take that. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm going to talk so much about this retreat. I'm literally on fire from it. And he gave me a tool to explain something I was doing. And I went, oh, this is how I sound less crazy to other people. Thank you very much. He talked about creating magic is criteria. So it's this idea of what do you require as a human being to feel fed on a soul level? So for him, it was movement. He loves jujitsu and he loves boxing. Matthew Hussey, the British dating expert, and not just like British dating, but he is British and he's a dating expert, but he's also like a life expert as well. And he's incredible. His whole team is wonderful.
I just love that you mentioned British, because before we recorded, we were like, we just break out into British accents all of a sudden.
British accents. Top posh. I promise I wasn't making fun of him. I promise. I love his accent. Criteria. So he broke down into like 5 or 6 things. He was like, if you've got 10, you've got a little too much that we're trying to like really work with, and it's actually going to drown out joy and magic. And so I started thinking, I don't know, like, is it connection? Is that what like magically lights me up? I was a little resistant at first. I was like, I don't know. I do this work all the time. Like, what am I talking about? And then he posed the opposite question. If you don't have this component in your life for too many days in a row, you don't feel like yourself. And I went, ooh, yes. Okay, I can work with this. What is it that if I feel pulled away from myself, if I don't feel like myself, what was missing that week or those days? Awe and wonder is my main criteria that I require to feel alive, that I require to feel human, that I require to feel like plugged into magic, into source. Yesterday, I woke up in absolute panic for no logical reason, no emotional reason. I feel great. I just got over being sick. I'm in this brand new apartment, came back from a retreat. Like everything was going really good. And I was full of dread. So I went through all my tools in my toolbox and nothing was seeming to like click. Mm-hmm. And then out of nowhere, this thunderstorm rolled in last night and I have a covered patio. And so I was like, I'm dangerously going to sit outside. Like my parents would probably be disappointed, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
The thunder rolling through my body I could see where the lightning was hitting, and I was like, maybe I should go inside. And I was like, no, just a minute more. I'm not recommending anyone do this. Please be safe. I felt the rumble through my body, and I felt plugged back into like, it's okay. Part of the human experience does include panic and despair and confusion and upset sometimes. And I noticed that the most awe-inducing, wonder-filled experience is a lack of judgment with my emotions. When I wake up and I go, why am I in such a panic? I'm pulled out of awe and wonder and curiosity because I'm analyzing and I'm trying to fix things. But when we're really just deeply tapped into the human experience, we're going, okay, cool. I can make myself feel better. I can make sure I'm drinking enough, eating enough, I've slept enough, call someone that I love. And if I still feel panic and nothing is currently wrong in my body, my house isn't on fire, it's okay to just sit with it. It's okay to just be with it and let that flow through you. Yeah. So that's how I try and incorporate daily magic of what is it that I'm feeling and how do I honor it without trying to like run away from it, suppress it, fix it, alter it, hide it. How do I just be?
How do you just experience it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's such an incredible practice, an incredible tool, right? Like every time we experience something that doesn't feel good, right? We get into problem solving mode, ultra masculine mode, right? How can I fix this? And the feminine is the permission slip for you to just be with it, to just experience it. That's beautiful.
The permission slip to be with it. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. That's awesome.
I love that you just went and sat out and watched the thunderstorm and felt the rumbling of the thunder. You know, it's so funny. I wonder if it was the same day, but I went to a barbecue on Saturday. And we Colorado Springs is crazy with their weather. So it was like 95 degrees. And then all of a sudden around 4 or 5 p.m. it was like, oh, I want to rain. It's a very feminine, very feminine place here. It just does what it wants to do. There's no reason. And so it started to rain and have thunder and lightning. And we were all outside kind of playing cornhole and everyone was like, oh, we should go inside. And then the rain didn't hit yet. And I'm just out there watching this far away lightning and thunderstorm. I'm just like, wow, like how crazy. I was just experiencing the magic of nature, right? And everyone else is not really paying attention to it or not really in awe over what was happening. And yeah, that's just so cool that we both kind of had a similar experience around that.
Yeah. Something, because I'm trying very hard. I just recently watched the Teal Swan documentary and I see a lot of myself in her, and it's a great warning. Have you seen the documentary?
No, I feel like I need to see it now.
Okay. The first 3 episodes are incredible, and I'm not going to pretend like I know this person intimately at all. Very recently have I come across Teal Swan once I downloaded TikTok. Like it's been a few years, right? And she's been around for a long time.
She was the first person that I learned masculine and feminine dynamics from.
You did? So I actually got very scared to get into this work because when I first started creating content and I was first learning about it, I got this comment and someone was trying very hard to defend Teal, right? But I was absolutely terrified. I was like, maybe I should stop doing this. And someone goes, I think you're just copying what Teal said. And I was like, I hadn't seen her video. I didn't know who she was at first. And I was like, I don't know who this person is. And so I was like, great. We're all like having this conversation. That means like there's meaning here. And the comment just kept like, it was a back and forth and they kept getting progressively angrier. And so that doesn't reflect on Teal. That's that person. Do you know what I mean? This documentary was supposed to show like all of her really amazing work. They followed her for 3 years and she's like, I feel like I've been swindled. And basically at the end, it's very drama oriented. And it's like, look at the cult that she has and like, look at how she's not working on herself and her own shadows. It just shows a human experience. And it's like on TikTok, everyone's losing their mind right now. Like, see, I knew it was a cult. I knew like she's the reason people harm themselves. And I was like, I think you guys are kind of missing the whole point. Like you should go back and watch the documentary again. There was a whole reason I brought this up. We were talking about, she was talking about, I don't know what people want. Like I want you guys to have partners, but if you have a partner or friends or do things in life that are completely out of alignment with this work and you guys are working for me,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to be like a huge proponent of that relationship. Like
Yeah.
I am creating my life around this work, and if you're here working with me, I want you to be a part of that. Us watching that storm doesn't mean that we're like better or like more elevated than certain people. It just means we're tapped into like certain, not even frequencies, certain experiences. We go, oh, I am so plugged into the experience of awe and wonder. And I crave that so
Yeah.
much in my life because it fuels my work. It fuels me as a person. And
Yeah.
other people, it's weird almost when they're like, oh, yeah, I guess it's storming. And you're like, what do you mean? I guess, like,
It's
aren't you here and watching this? And so watching that documentary, like Teal was like, aren't we going to talk about these things? Aren't we going to be passionate about those things? I was like, I do see parts of myself
yeah.
within you. And I see that hunger and that drive to like really have these meaningful conversations. I'm so curious, what was your first experience with her or like her content or seeing feminine and masculine like with her?
Yeah, so I remember hearing the term masculine and feminine, and I was like, what is this? So of course I went to YouTube.
As we do.
As we do. And I looked up masculine and feminine, and I looked up masculine and feminine, and I think it was like sex magic or something like that. And like Teal Swan was one of the only people really like talking about it on YouTube at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and so I just like dove into it, and she enlightened me so much on like the core essence of like what the feminine craves, what the masculine craves, and like yeah, that's YouTube.
Isn't that crazy? Like we all found these things because someone was brave enough to go, this is not going to be a popular opinion, but this is something that I've realized I've recognized and it's helped me.
And think about how normalized it's becoming to have these conversations, right? It's still very taboo, right? Like it's
Mhm.
still very um in our world it feels like everyone knows it, but
Yeah.
in the overall world, it's like when I talk to,
Huh?
yeah, exactly, when I talk to like my sister or my aunt or whatever, they're just like, what the fuck, masculine and
What are you
feminine.
talking
I'll never forget the day that I was at a family dinner and I had spoken to someone about, they were like, oh, so like, what are you doing now? I was like, oh, like I help people to build online businesses that are aligned with their purpose. And in, like I said, my whole spiel. And they were just like, not totally sure what that means, but sounds cool. And I'm like, how do you not know what that means? But it's like the
Mhm.
word like aligned with your purpose or feminine embodiment are still such newer terms to like the broader, if you're not inside of like the coaching industry or the life or a personal development industry, it's very like what, right?
Mhm.
And again, going back to what you were saying, that does not mean anything better, worse, more conscious, less conscious, or whatever you want to call it. It just means we're plugged into this community, and it has different understandings and different vocabulary and different just ways of
Yes.
communicating.
It's a system of language. And an example recently,
Yeah.
finish one thought, my dear. Recently, I've been wrestling with, I'll say, even using the terms feminine and masculine because of how much twisting is happening in comments. And I'm like, okay, if this is consistently being misinterpreted, I care so much about the core, like let's shift. If we need to shift, I will shift.
Mhm.
Because the right people for the content with the words feminine and masculine are like, cool, I'm rocking and rolling with it.
Yeah.
I also want to be able to not even market, but connect with people that go, I think I get it, but the language is what's turning me off.
Yeah.
An example of it was at this retreat. Hi, my name's Kristen. I'm from Ohio. Oh, what do you do? Well, this is what I do. And like, I'm excited to tell you, but like, I'm also nervous to tell you
Yeah.
because again, I don't know what that means, but like, rock on, dude. And other people were like, I'm a lawyer. I'm a teacher. And it's like a very, very succinct snapshot. And that's awesome and great and cool.
Yeah.
Us, not so much. And so sometimes going, I'm a coach, people go, in what? And you're like, you
Basketball.
asked. Volleyball? What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, you asked. And so I had a few people go, I don't know what you're talking about. Very open, very kind people, right? I was so excited to meet these women. It was a powerhouse full of awesome individuals oriented towards betterment and change, right? And one of the sessions, he gave us all bracelets. He gave us all these beautiful little trinkets. I don't know if you can see it. It has a little elephant on it. It's a little turquoise.
It's beautiful.
He talked about the elephant and the rider. And the rider on top of the elephant knows where they want to go. They know the logic, the steps, the plan. And I would like to direct this elephant. But this elephant is not going to move unless you tap into its language, which is emotion. And so we have to find emotional buttons, and we have to find the things that really drive us, our essence. It all came back to criteria and vision. And so if we can get the rider to break out of so much strict logic and speak in emotions, the elephant is going to be so much more willing to work with us and actually create movement in our life. And then we all went to lunch, right? Like this absolute truth bomb. Then he was like, see you in an hour. And it's like, okay, thank you. And so at lunch, I'm losing my mind going, that's the masculine and the feminine. And everyone's like, oh, that's what you're trying to say? And I'm like, yes, like this is the visual. If we can latch onto the visual, I don't care what words we use, north, south, winter, summer, black, white. I don't care. But if we understand those polarities, then we can dance in between and like figure everything else out.
Yeah.
So the language bit of how do we plug in, because us within the coaching industry, our little niche, our little corner, it's awesome. We have so much fun. But like, how do we grow with language?
Yes. And I love that you mentioned that they understand a different vocabulary, right? They understand the elephant and the rider, right? And like what I think is so powerful is it's all the same thing. Specifically the English language is so limited. It's so limiting to what actually is, right? Like it's like we can only describe so much of how an orgasm feels, right? Like we can like try to describe it, but it doesn't even match, right? What it actually feels like to experience it. Language can be so limiting. It's an incredible way, obviously, to communicate. It's how we're having this conversation and we love it, but it is limiting, right? Because you can only communicate the depth of something to a certain extent, right? So my question for you is, do you feel like having this conversation around replacing the masculine and feminine word with black, white, with ocean, with land, with sun, with moon, with yin, yang, whatever resonates for the person, do you think this is helping us create a safer space for more people to understand this work of the polarities?
Yes, because this has been my most recent frustration. And I don't like how often I go, I'm frustrated by this instead of I'm lit up by this in this realm, in this industry, because I want to bring excitement instead of course correcting all the time. Because I feel like when we course correct, we're missing educational coursework.
Yeah. Yep.
This energetic balance, polarity, harmony is not rooted in, if I do this work, I'll find a partner. And I keep hearing so much of that. Like, if I embrace the sexuality and sensuality, that's how I'm going to find a partner to fulfill the masculine role within me. Yeah. And so it's awesome I love David Dida. I never know how I want to say his name. I'm just going to look up how he says it after this. I love his literature about polarity, sexual polarity, and that is a component of this work. But a really big component of this work, at least from how I teach and how I help clients, is how do we find this balance within you? Nothing external, within you. How do we balance the logic and the emotion? How do we work through the burnout and allow rest to feel pleasurable instead of guilt-ridden? How do we work on this internal state with you? And it's because I am rooted in therapeutic and counseling passion. Like that's where I started. And so I want to work with individuals. If I had gone into couples counseling, couples therapy, I would probably really love using this energetics in couples
Yep.
containers, you know what I mean? And working with love and relationships. But something that really, really grinds my gears, really gets me going is how do we bring this to you and your life? And then love gets to be this beautiful byproduct of your own balance and harmony. We were talking at this retreat. I'm going to start so many more sentences like this. And he was like, is this really your goal? I want to be more confident. That's not really a goal. That's a byproduct of achieving a goal. I want to be able to talk to strangers in a coffee shop.
Yes.
Because I've gained confidence. That fuels my confidence. So I want to do this work to get a partnership. Hold on. That's not the goal. That's a beautiful bonus byproduct.
Yeah.
So let's start opening up language so that we can welcome in more people with different vocabulary. Because if you're like, oh, feminine energetics, well, I guess I'm going to like get a girlfriend, or masculine energetics, that's how I get a boyfriend. Let's rewind and we'll figure out how to communicate a little bit differently.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this is why we are here having this conversation. our beliefs and our the work is so aligned that we do. And I agree. Like, I think I think I told you this during the TikTok live, like I play with 5 components as far as if you want to put it in categories, right? There's the divine masculine, the divine feminine, the disempowered masculine, the disempowered feminine. These are all internal traits, right? They're obviously external as well. But then the 5th component is the divine sacred union of them. And that's the external, the relationship, the union of you and a partner and you of another being, right? And so it's this work, yes, it applies and it's so powerful to the external masculine or the external feminine, but it has everything to do with you finding that dance in yourself, right? The dance between the masculine and feminine to bring harmony, to bring peace, to bring pleasure, to bring joy, to bring structure, to bring whatever it is that you need, right, in your life. And it starts, in my opinion, it starts with understanding where you're at right now, right? Because there's no way you can just be like, well, okay, I've got to be more feminine if I want to call in a man, but then your inner masculine is completely wounded, right? Like, yeah.
Yes.
I was going to go on a longer rant, but I'm like, nah, it's all right.
I absolutely love that. There was a moment in the very beginning. It was the welcome party when we all got off the plane and we're freaking exhausted. And Matthew Hesse was talking about when people call me out on stage or for an interview or I'm on TV or something and they go, the dating expert, a part of my soul dies because I want to help people. Like, I want to create meaningful, impactful world change on an individual basis. And when we build up the individual, that's when like we can really, go, awesome, let's welcome in love. Like, these bricks build on top of each other. And I think that's the frustration sometimes within this field is like, cool, you guys are asking really great questions about this brick up here, but like, let's lay this foundation first.
Yeah, because I almost feel like that almost alludes to not being whole or complete without the relationship, right? And so I love, you said Matthew is his name. Yeah, I love that Matthew said, like, let's work on you and the individual and helping you become a whole, complete, sovereign being. And then again, as a byproduct of that, that's when you can fully receive and be in a beautiful union.
Yes.
Woo!
Dr. Ramani, I don't know if you know her work. It was the first time I was introduced to her. And I almost felt like, oh, I should have known her before. The universe, she gave a little giggle. You know what I mean? When the universe goes, she's an expert on narcissism. And that was our special guest that Matthew flew in. She was on a red eye for one session. She was there for one day. And we talked a lot about things where I was like, uh-oh, I should have known that earlier in life. And like, this is beautiful and wonderful and gorgeous. And then Matt did this crazy like 180 shift. Like she was like, we were all vibing, we were asking questions. We were like, oh my God, you just blew my mind. That's freaking crazy. And he goes, I really want to have a conversation about biological clock. Because
Ooh.
as a white guy, I don't really like, I'm a 30-year-old well-off guy. I don't really feel that pressure to have kids
Mhm.
in that same way, in that biological way. What do you say to women who are like, well, I have a narcissist, but he can like give me kids, so I guess I'll settle for this.
Ooh.
And she goes, have children by yourself. Statistically speaking, those children are better off with a secure, grounded, single mom. If
Mhm.
you really want to be a mom by
Mhm.
yourself. And in dating, maybe instead of looking for these whirlwind romances, we should be looking for someone that we're excited to co-parent with. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, so that whole conversation you just said about like wholeness, and we're craving wholeness in partnership.
Yeah.
I am whole within myself. And when I am secure, my dreams of career, of motherhood, of love, through friendship, through family, through so many other avenues can come in.
Mhm.
But it starts with the belief that like I am whole as I am, me on my own. And I'm going to find the things that I crave, yearn for, long for, and desire on my own.
Chills. I love
She
her
was
so much.
incredible.
No,
We all
look at
left the
her.
room. We're like, we it was so good. So, so good.
Oh, love. Okay, so I wrote something down while you were talking because I think this is a big conversation, specifically for the women in my audience who are high achieving women,
Mm.
entrepreneurs, who are craving to have the feminine lead their life, lead their business. So you mentioned the term like having rest be pleasurable instead of guilted. I forget the word,
Yeah,
guilty,
yeah,
feeling
yeah.
guilty.
Just feeling guilty about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guilt ridden. Yeah.
And this is massive because I know I've struggled with this. I know so many of my clients have struggled with this. And it's like this sense of, I want to rest, but then you go to rest and then your mind is on overdrive, like, oh my God, I shouldn't be resting. I should be doing, I should be, creating content. I should be serving people. I should be selling. I'm not, if I rest, I'm not going to make sales. Like all the icky, blech, right? We've been there. I've been there. It still happens, right? Because it's such a deep belief. It's such a societal belief that says like if you're not doing, you're lazy, or if you're rest, you can rest when you're retired, you can rest when you're dead, or whatever, right? That
Mhm.
hustle culture. What do you have to say to kind of break that mold? And what tools do you have to support women in actually giving themselves permission to rest peacefully without the guilt?
Rest peacefully. Um, First of all, I'm learning in these past few weeks how much of a linguist I am and how important language is and how much I crave to like observe humanity and write about it.
Yeah.
Um, Language is going to be the first word because we are programmed to have earned be the prefix of any form of rest. I'm earning time off. I'm earning vacation. I'm earning my sick days. I'm earning my whatever.
Mm,
I'm earning my right to rest.
yep.
We've got to change that first and foremost. And that's, it sounds ginchy. It's going to be a small, huge, uncomfortable thing to do every single time you experience any kind of rest. I'm not even talking like, oh, and I'm going on a Parisian vacation for 2 weeks. No, no, no. Like before work, I'm going to get up an extra 15 minutes and I'm not going to talk to anybody and I'm going to enjoy my coffee. And when you enjoy your coffee, I just want you to focus on the word birthright.
Mm.
This is my
Ooh.
birthright. I didn't earn this cup of coffee. I didn't sacrifice for this cup of coffee. I wasn't disappointing anyone for this cup of coffee. This is my birthright. And
Mm.
out of the overflow of rest comes creativity, inspiration, compassion. When we are well watered, well fed, and well rested, we are kinder human beings. When people talk about, I want to give someone another chance, I want to give someone another chance, I like to ask them if their behavior was because they were tired, thirsty, hungry, warm, or cold. And if that's no, they've had enough to eat and they weren't uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, so this wasn't an external thing. This is an internal. That's how they're going to continue to treat you. And we want to really analyze that, because we've all acted not in alignment with who we are when we're like, I'm starving. I've had to wait in line for a long time, or I don't have my caffeine, or whatever, my usual baseline, right? Rest has to be our usual baseline.
Yeah.
That's literally a component to survival. And so if I'm so clinging on to, if I don't keep doing things, I'm not going to survive. Well, if you keep doing things to the point where your brain stops working, you're also not going to survive. Yeah. So like, rest in an enjoyable way, we have to shift the language and the mindset first and recognize this is the best thing I can do for my long-term health, happiness, and contribution to society. So people that are high earners, high achievers, that are excited and fueled up by the work that they do, your work is not going to be as impactful when you are not functioning properly. Your energy, it's literally not going to be the same. So language, we have to change language. And I also think another language barrier that we have, this is a tool that I like to use. And the first time I said it to a client, I also like was saying it to myself for the first time. And I was like, uh-oh, I just realized something. We try and force rest that's not in alignment with our energy. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, I am not going to go to the grocery store, and I'm not going to cook, and I'm not going to clean, and I'm not going to do any work. I'm resting. Mm-hmm. And I'm miserable, and I hate it because I actually love to cook when there's no pressure. Or I really like, my favorite date is grocery shopping. I fucking adore grocery shopping. I don't know if I can swear on your podcast. Absolutely. I freaking adore. Okay, cool. Grocery shopping is amazing. I love it. Looking at people and looking at all the options. Oh, it's like a daydream on legs, and I love it. So when people go, rest feels like more of a chore. Mm-hmm. I'm like, are you holding yourself back from doing things that actually light you up with pleasure? Yeah. Because in the name of resting, you know, when you're sick and your parents are like, don't watch TV, heal. And you're like, I'm laying down on this couch no matter what. I want to watch TV while I'm healing. Like, let me watch a show if I'm laying here anyways. Uh-huh. My one client was like, all I wanted to do on my day off was to like pick up my tarot cards and just do a few readings. And I was like, then do it. She goes, but that's not resting. And I was like, as soon as it's no longer something you want to do, rest days are the days where you get to say, meh, I'm done. As soon as it stops feeling good, stop doing the thing. We're so focused and intentional in a good way, talking about sex. If something doesn't feel good anymore, communicate and stop, right? Consent. But we don't do that with ourselves, like energetically at all.
Okay. You guys, can you please, I want you to go back like 3, 4, 5 minutes, however long that was. And I just want you to re-listen to that, starting from me asking the question about rest, because every single thing that you just said was absolute fucking gold. And I want it to land for everyone. Like, if you are driving, listening to this podcast, please go pull over, go into a parking lot and re-listen to that. If you have your baby in your arm, please go put them in their crib and re-listen to that. Let it land. First of all, I love changing the language of earned it to birthright. I call this, we have a very dinner before dessert type of mindset, right? Like, I'm only worthy of pleasure. I'm only deserving of the dessert after I've earned it, after I've achieved something, after I've had my dinner first, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this work and choosing rest because you desire rest, and understanding that is your birthright, and understanding that's a key component to not just your survival, but your magnetism, your radiance, your kindness, your generosity. Kristen, I love that. I like that. I was like, oh my God, a fucking course. What a perfect way to explain it, right? Because
Yeah.
I think human nature is wanting to do good by people, right? Wanting to treat others the way you would like to be treated, you would hope. I think
Yeah.
that's a typical human desire, right? And I know when I am cold, hot, hungry, tired, right, thirsty, I'm not my best self, right? So it's choosing those things, understanding that not only are you going to feel your best, but also others around you are going to get your best self as well. Um,
Mhm.
and then as a man, Jen, are you into human design at all?
I am also a manifesting generator. Yes,
So
I've
like,
become obsessed.
yes, okay, so you get it. It's like we love to do. We love to work. We love to create. When you ask the question, or when I think it was Matthew asked you guys the question of like, what could you not do for two, or what could you not do for 2 days that you would feel, what was the question?
If you didn't do this thing for several days in a row, you wouldn't feel like yourself. What
Yeah.
are those things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you said that, the immediate response for me was serve, right? Be of service. When I travel and I'm taking time off, I miss working. I miss serving my people and creating content and all the things. Like that's my pleasure. That's my joy. That's what turns me on and lights me up. I could do it all the time, right? That's a part of how I've been designed, right? That's my human design as a manifesting generator.
Mhm.
Um, so it's also just like, I think it's understanding who you are as a being and continuing to follow your joy and your pleasure and your turn on instead of trying to do what you think you should be doing, whether
Mhm.
it's doing, whether it's resting.
Correct.
Love it.
Good. The I just watched a movie and I was so mad because it ended this way. Um, she was talking about he was my airplane face mask person. And the guy was like, what are you talking about? She's like, the one you put on their face mask before your own. And I was like, no, 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 no. And he even had that was part of the script, part of the movie. He was like, no, you put your face mask on first so you can like help someone else
Yeah.
more, right? And the movie, I really had high hopes for it, right? I've really had in the ending scene, they had like this big falling out and they had to sit next to each other on both ends of an aisle
Uh-huh.
on a plane ride back. And it was really awkward and it was really tense. And there was turbulence and the masks came down. And he put her mask on before his own. And that was how the movie ended. And it was like, oh, how sweet. And I was like,
That's not.
no, you missed the whole point. Like you missed the whole no, because when you are able to meet all of your own needs, you are more coherent, more kind, more in alignment with yourself. And so when I'm in alignment with myself and I can show up with other people in alignment, that's how I find my soul tribe instead of just people I happen to be with 5 days a week. And that's where pleasure and joy in. So yes to everything you said.
Yes to everything
Love it.
you said too.
Yes.
Okay, amazing. I just feel like we can talk and talk and talk and talk. But I think that I want to move into asking you our final question.
Yes, I'm ready.
So this is a question I asked to every single one of my podcast guests. So I'm excited to hear your answer. Obviously, the name of the podcast is Pleasurable Success, and the core and the foundation of the podcast is allowing and giving permission to people to understand that they are worthy because their heart is beating, right? Not after they've achieved something, not after they, earned something. We've been talking about that a lot. It's like, no, you're actually deserving of experiencing pleasure now throughout your entire success. So how could the person listening to this start making their success a more pleasure-filled experience?
There was a concept that I was almost angry. It was so awesome. You know, when truth hits you and you go, my life will literally never be the same after that. Matt talked about our human matrix. And so it's like a grid. of all these boxes of important things to us. And rightfully so, some boxes are bigger than others. I hope your children have a bigger box than like Pilates. Maybe not, but I really hope so. Um, and there's usually one box that we define ourselves with.
Yeah.
Some people that's a relationship, some people that's a career, some people that's our looks, our lifestyle, whatever it is. But if that thing ever were to get swooped and taken away from us, our matrix would kind of crumble. There would be like a really big hole there.
Yeah.
And so we talked about how do we add more legs under this table of life so that there's more stability and more groundedness. And if one gets knocked out from underneath us, what is it that we're able to lean on to remain balanced and to feel whole, to feel like we're a functioning table, a functioning human being? So defining ourselves with our success is where we run into issues. Defining success as I am alive is where everything else gets to come from overflow and from happiness. When I'm truly excited that my heart is beating, I love that you said that. When I'm excited that I have breath, when I'm excited that I have food, when I'm excited that I am a functioning human being that is able to learn and be more compassionate and kind because I choose to be every single day to the best of my ability and hold all of the emotions of the human experience. That is success, and everything else is just a really kick-ass bonus.
Chills again. You keep giving me, girl. I swear. I keep looking at like, these are big little, it looks like a raw chicken leg.
I love hearing that experience. That makes me so excited. Yes.
I love that so much. And I also think it's quite aligned with the masculine and feminine too, right? Having the table, the support, the safety, the masculine, right? Be there to support you in your magic, in your flow, in your everything else, right? In your worthiness. I love that. I am truly obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with the work that you do. I'm like, what else can we do? What can we do next in IG Live?
We collaborate. Yes, and yes, I love it. I love that. I also
So
feel very lit up by you on our conversation. So thank you for your time and for the space to have these.
my absolute pleasure, seriously. All right, my loves. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please make sure to follow Kristen. Kristen, where do you like to hang out the most?
So I enjoy TikTok the most. That is my favorite, essential.feminine. And that's all my handles as well. So on Instagram, and I will be starting a podcast soon. And so you'll be seeing all sorts of fun stuff.
Oh my gosh, amazing. All right, you guys. So make sure you go follow her. She's huge on TikTok, Instagram, all the platforms. Connect with her. You also have an incredible journal, right?
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
We're going to just blurb this in.
Yeah.
My new exciting project right now for the next 6 months is to really elevate the journal. So the content is there, but I'm excited to make something that people, their jaw drops.
Yes. Oh, I'm all about elevation. Whew. So fun. All right, my loves. Thank you again for tuning in. Please share this with someone you love if you found it beneficial. Send it to all your girlfriends, your sisters, your husbands, your brothers, whatever. Send it to anyone who you know can benefit from this conversation. I love you. Thank you for being a part of my journey and allowing me to be a part of yours. I'll see you next episode.